What is up, guys? Welcome to Speak True Sports, where we just sort of speak our mind on various topics that have been going on in organizations such as the NBA, NFL, etc. My name is Sparsh, and today we're going to be talking some more Ben Simmons stuff. And I know we've sort of been talking about him a lot, but this is actually some pretty interesting news that sort of came out recently regarding his situation in Philly. Now, we know that he requested a trade. He's also reported that he will not show up to training camp at all, and that the Sixers are willing to fine him 308 grand per day that he misses, which is quite big, especially even for a $200 million contract, 308K a day is quite a lot. And this article came out by Shams trainer and the athletic staff, and what happened with this scenario is that there were some Philadelphia 76ers players that wanted to travel to Simmons' place in Los Angeles, and they wanted to speak with him and convince him about, staying in Philly, right? They've got a good scenario over there, and honestly, if Simmons could get that shot going, right, this team is definitely a contender and has a really good shot at getting the chip. And I can sort of understand their point of view in trying to convince him to come back. But the players that were sort of reported that wanted to go was Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, and Matisse Thybulle. And they were planning on going, but Ben Simmons declined that offer and told him, hey, you might as well just stay back. And another thing that Shams mentioned is that Ben Simmons has, quote-unquote, mentally checked out on the 76ers. Now, this is kind of unfortunate because when you see the situation that Philly has, right? We've talked about this in a previous video where, they're trusting the process has just absolutely failed because all that years of tanking to get Embiid and Simmons, and you have Embiid, who is a perennial all-star in this league, one of the best centers behind Nikola Jokic. And you got Ben Simmons, who is an all-NBA level defender. And you could honestly make a point of him getting Defensive Player of the Year, right? It really depends on sort of your stance on this. And you've got two really great big players that could easily help you get that chip. And, they've got a good core build around them. But, when you see Simmons' offensive incapabilities, that is what's really holding this team back. And it's even more saddening because, these guys tried to go out and still convince him, but we've already seen multiple reports. It's clearly evident that he wants to be traded. He doesn't want any part with Philly. And I don't even think Philly fans are even going to want to even give him a welcome back. I think everybody at this point just wants him out. And I was also listening to some of the JJ Redick podcasts. If you haven't listened to it, make sure to tune it out. He's got some really great informative videos. And I was listening to the Matisse Thybulle podcast. And Matisse Thybulle is honestly one of the nicest guys you could ever meet. And he was just sort of talking about that playoff performance. We all know what happened, where Ben Simmons, he was being guarded by Trae Young, and he passed on that dunk to give it to Matisse Thybulle, and that resulted in free throws where only one of two was made. And Matisse was talking about how it was actually his fault because he didn't make both of those free throws. And it just shows that, these guys, they still, accept their shortcomings, and, they're not blaming everything entirely on him. Now, I know Joel Embiid and Doc Rivers mentioned, the shortcomings on Ben Simmons' side, where Doc Rivers was saying, oh, yeah, I don't know if he is a championship level point guard. And I'm just sort of paraphrasing this. And then Joel Embiid was like, yeah, we had the chance, but, the game turned around when, again, I was just talking about that play where Ben Simmons had that chance to get those two dunks, but ended up in free throws. it sucks because these guys want to get him back too. And Doc Rivers, I kind of find this funny because he came on to ESPN with Stephen A. Smith and he was saying that Ben Simmons is good and he wants him back. But at this point, the damage is already done, right? He wants out. He must be feeling some sort of way that maybe he's not wanted in Philly because, back even at the trade deadline, there were discussions entertaining him and James Harden for trades. And then you have the playoffs where he just sort of underperforms like terribly. And, he gets called out by Embiid and Doc Rivers. And though I think those words could have definitely been worded much better, it's still a lot on his side. And at this point, he's not even like responding to them anymore. He hasn't responded to like Daryl Morey's calls for like weeks. He's already mentally checked out. He wants out. And it seems like this is a really lost cause for the players to even try to get them back. And Philly is kind of on this really big verge of, are they going to make a move to trade him and get themselves forward? Or is this the start of their, decline, right? Because Embiid's championship window is really short, right? You've got a great center, but at the same time, his health is absolutely terrible. Especially with all those injuries, you never know, when you could really get all those good games from him or not, especially with health, right? And this is such a bad timing as well because training camp for the Philadelphia 76ers, it starts on Monday and media day is going to be on Monday as well. So now with all this stuff that's going around with the Sixers, now it's just going to be focused around Ben Simmons, around, training camp and media day. And, some of these guys could really benefit from training camp. And, when you have this sort of stuff going around, right, like reporters are definitely going to be asking about Ben Simmons. They're like, oh, hey, have you been in contact with him? Have you heard anything about this? Do you think a trade's going to happen? It's just like when you got guys at training camp that are going to be asked questions, not about them, but about Ben Simmons, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be a good look for them. It's not a good way to also start their season as well. And we really don't know what's going to happen with the Philadelphia 76ers. We don't know if they're even going to get a trade going for Ben Simmons. It's funny because, the Warriors, they were sort of fined some money for quote-unquote tampering. And I find it really ironic because the tampering thing that they get called out for is that they were saying that they don't want to do a deal for Ben Simmons, and they get fined for that. So the one time tampering is discussed around Ben Simmons, it's because, they actually don't want him. But something that also kind of emerged recently, the Nuggets have apparently become sleepers in getting a trade going for Ben Simmons. And I find that really, really perplexing to say, because you have a team with Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. You have a team built around them. Will Barton, Michael Porter Jr., and you've got a pretty good coach in Mike Malone, though he is kind of unquestionable at times with his lineups. That's still a really good team. And before Jamal Murray tore his ACL, that team was definitely one of the contenders to win the Western Conference and possibly win the chip. I had the Denver Nuggets making the Western Conference Finals that year, especially with Nikola's Jokic's MVP season and Jamal Murray's really big year. It was really unfortunate to see them go down after Jamal Murray got injured. And if you have some sort of trade going around where you include either Jamal Murray or Michael Porter Jr., I don't think this is a good look for Denver. This is really crazy if Denver decides to include one of those two in a trade package for Ben Simmons. If they happen to include somebody like Aaron Gordon, though, now we're sort of talking, because Aaron Gordon, he recently signed a 4-year, $92 million, I believe. So he got paid a pretty big bag by Denver. And if you could have him and put some other pieces around that contract, you might get something going, because Denver is a really great offensive team, but they also do suffer a bit defensively as well. Nikola Jokic, you're not really going to get much out of him because the team actually plays better defensively when he's on the bench. But you're going to need that offense from him, that offensive playmaking from Jokic. Michael Porter Jr., he's still got some ways to go. Jamal Murray, he's more of a score first kind of guy. So it could be good to get Ben Simmons on this team, but if you're going to include Jamal Murray or Michael Porter Jr., that is a really bad move for Denver. Anyways, I'm going to be updating you guys about this as the situation goes on. I'm really curious to see what is going to happen on Media Day on Monday. That is definitely a day to look out for. We might be expecting something pretty big by then, or maybe not, because teams just don't want to make a move for him. What are your guys' thoughts below on this? Make sure to leave a comment in the comment section. Don't forget to like and make sure to subscribe to our channel. And also don't forget to press the bell for push notifications. That way you're always sort of up to date with our channel. And that also makes us more eager to post stuff for you guys as well. Anyways, this is Sparsh from Speak True Sports, and I'm signing out. Make sure to take it easy, stay safe, and stay awesome.